What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So how many times have you heard this phrase, follow the money? Today, we're going to take a look at the Senate map. We'll take a look at the Republican PAC and how they're going to spend their money in the midterm election. And the reason why this is important is because now we get to see the states that they're prioritizing. So you have certain races that are going on, and some of these races, they are looking at them and they're saying, this is probably going to be a close race. And so we want to make sure that we're putting money into these races. And so here's a Republican PAC here. It's the Senate Leadership Fund. It says the Senate Leadership Fund is a super PAC that was founded to support a Republican majority in the United States Senate. As of August 2025, the group's website described it as the only outside organization solely dedicated to protecting and expanding the Republican Senate majority. And so that is their mission. That is their goal. So let's go ahead and take a look. I want to see how they plan to spend money in the 2026 midterm election. So here's the information here. It's coming from the New York Times. It says where the main Senate Republican super PAC plans to spend. Now let's take a look at some of these states. Now, one thing I want to say before we even get into this, you have to understand that they're buying airtime. So we're going to see ads and things like that. Now, when you're buying airtime all over the U.S., different states might cost more to buy ads. So you might look at one state and say, well, why are they only spending maybe 15 million or 20 million in one state, but they're spending so much more in other states? That could be because they see the need to spend more in those different states. And also the price to put out ads in these different states might be more. And so that's why they have to spend more. Okay, let's get back here. So let's take a look. First state here. And some of these states, we're going to take a look at the Senate map as well at the end of this video, because I want to show you the reason why Republicans are looking at some of these states and saying, okay, we need to put money in some of these states. Now, we have Republican-held seats. Okay, that's here. And then we also have Democratic-held seats. So the plan is this PAC is not only going to be putting money into states to keep these Republican seats, but they're also going to be trying to flip some of these Democratic seats. Okay, so first state here, Ohio. Now, we've talked a lot about Ohio. I think Sherrod Brown has a really good chance of winning. He's a Democrat. He has a really good chance of winning in Ohio, and you see that reflected here. You see that this PAC is putting some money into Ohio, $79 million. North Carolina, this is another state. I think Democrats have a real possibility of winning in North Carolina with Roy Cooper, and that's reflected here as well. You have $71 million going into that state. Now, the super PAC is putting $42 million into Maine. Maine is another state that it's a must-win for Republicans, and Democrats right now have an advantage. Plattner is doing well in the polls, as well as you have Mills. So both Democrats will be running against each other in the primary, but they're both doing well against Susan Collins. Considering that Susan Collins is the incumbent, she should be ahead, but when we're looking at the polls with her against Plattner, Plattner is ahead. And when we're looking at polls against her and Mills, Mills is either slightly ahead or it's a tie. And so that's not good news for Collins. Now, moving forward, Iowa. Now, this is interesting. They're putting money into Iowa. And so that should tell you a little bit how they feel about Iowa. And so I recently moved Iowa into our Tier 2 structure. So you have Tier 1. These are mainly states that we think will go to the Democrats in the midterm election. And then we have the toss-ups. And so Iowa now I've put into that toss-up column. And you see that Republicans, they want to buy some airtime in Iowa because this is not going to be a guarantee for Republicans. Alaska, $15 million. That's how much they're putting into Alaska. So these are the 5 states that they will be investing money into to hold those states. They want to make sure they don't lose those states. Now, when we look at the states that they're trying to flip, we have Michigan, $45 million. So they have their eye on Michigan. They're trying to see if they can flip Michigan. Georgia, $44 million. And then New Hampshire, $17 million. Now, Democrats, and I've said this before, Democrats have to win all 3 of these states. They have to win all 3 of these states. So they're really going to be focused on winning those 3 states. And they also need to win 4 of these states. So they need to net 4 in order to take back control of the Senate. And so you see that the super PAC, they're focused on Alaska. They're focused on Iowa, Maine, North Carolina, and Ohio. Now, what's the state that you don't see on that map? Texas. Very interesting. They're not putting any money as of right now. Now, this could change, but as of right now, they're not buying any ads in Texas. And I'm telling you, Texas is going to be a close race. Tallarico has the ability to win in Texas. The fact that they're not putting any money in Texas, they're putting money into Iowa, but not Texas, that right there, I don't know. That's going to change. I'm sure it's going to change in the future. Maybe they're waiting to see what happens in this runoff race between Cornyn and Paxton, but I'm telling you, they're going to need to put some money into Texas. Now, this is a super PAC. You will have more money that will go into Texas from other PACs and other super PACs. So it's not just this one, but it's just interesting to me. You're putting money into places like Iowa, where I'm thinking Texas has a better opportunity to flip to a Democrat than Iowa at this current state. So now let's take a look at our Senate map. Now, right now, Democrats and independents are at 47, Republicans are at 53. The reason why we see this super PAC focusing money on these different states, and let's just take a look at some of the states right now. So we know one was Maine, we know one was North Carolina, Ohio, we have Iowa, and we have Alaska. Now, these are the 5 states that Republicans are saying we need to hold all these states. Now, when we look at the states that they plan to flip, we're looking at states like Georgia, Michigan, and New Hampshire. And so now if we took all these states, and we're going to fill these in a second. So right now we have toss-ups, and we're just putting them as toss-ups. Toss-ups, 8 states. So we have Democrats and independents at 44, Republicans at 48. And so if we start filling in some of these gaps, now I think the best possibilities, and we'll look at on the Democratic side, but I think Democrats have a real good chance of holding Georgia. So we'll put Georgia there. I think they also have a really good chance of holding New Hampshire as well as Michigan. So if Democrats can hold those 3 states, as we stated, then now we're going to get into some of these other races that are much closer, and Democrats would have to flip these states in order to take back control. I think the best possibilities when we're talking about flips, we're looking at North Carolina. I think Democrats have a real shot there. I also think Democrats have a good shot in Maine. And then I think the sleeper here is going to be Alaska. I think Democrats have a chance to flip Alaska. Now we have Iowa and Ohio. And remember, Texas wasn't on their map, so we're just going to leave Texas red. But when it comes to Ohio and Iowa, I think Democrats have a chance to win in Ohio. And if Democrats win in Ohio, and let's say Republicans do win Iowa and they do win Texas, Democrats would still have the majority. They would still have the advantage. Democrats would take back control of the Senate because they would have the majority. So Democrats and independents would be at 51. Republicans would be at 49. And so it's very interesting to see the strategy of the super PAC and how they're spending their money. I think that we will see some changes. I think that they will start putting some money into Texas, but they might have to take money. And this is another thing I was talking about here. If we go back to this map really quickly, if we start looking at some states, and let's say you have a Florida that's now a little bit more competitive, or a South Carolina that's a little bit more competitive, I'm not saying Democrats will flip those states, but if they're more competitive, then guess what? These super PACs are going to have to divert some of the money that they were putting into some of these other races. They're going to have to divert them to a South Carolina, to a Florida, to a Nebraska, to a Montana. And so if that's the case, if we start seeing things like that happen, that means that some of these states that are, on the fence, maybe in Iowa, maybe another state, maybe a Texas, those states will have less resources, less money from the Republican side, and maybe Democrats will have more money to put in for advertisement in some of these different areas. And so I'm going to pass it off to you. What do you guys think about the money that the super PAC is spending in these different states? Do you think they have the right states targeted? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.